So thank you for everyone who's joining us for our second interview of the day. I'm joined by another fellow IFPA ambassador, but also an advocate of the Kenyan High Court. It's Hellen Wangui Gathere. Helen, how are you? Sorry, I keep calling you Helen. I will call you Wangui going forward.
Fine.
How are you?
All say it's fine. I'm doing well. How are you?
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I must admit, I'm more relaxed now than I've been all week. It's been a lot of preparation for
Right,
our big
right.
event today, but once I'm into it and into the conversation, it's sort of an area I'm very comfortable. So yeah, feeling much better, thank you. Um,
Glad,
so thank you for
glad.
joining us on. Well, sorry, we got a bit of a delay there. You go first.
No, I was only saying it's glad to know that it's good to know that you're doing okay now and you're a bit more relaxed. Sorry about all the pressure, but yeah, we're here now.
Yeah, no need to apologise. We do these things because we're passionate about it, and and
Yeah.
it comes with the work as well. Thank you so much for joining us on this World Psoriasis Day. I don't know what time you in Kenya now? I don't know what time of the day it is there.
It is now what time? 1 p.m.
Okay, that's good. I don't feel guilty because I'm worried that people are going to be joining us in the middle of the night or something to accommodate this.
It is 1 p.m. I have just walked out of a meeting, which is still going on. So I was trying to find a place where we can actually have this meeting, a bit quieter place. So yeah,
Oh, brilliant.
we're
Thank
still.
and hopefully we haven't inconvenienced you too much. If you do have to go at any point, then that's absolutely fine. Don't feel like you have to apologise.
No, no, no. I've done everything that I was supposed to do today. So this is my time with Twitch.
Well, thank you, and I think this is your first time on Twitch, isn't it? So
It is.
yeah,
Mhm.
thank you
Yeah.
for biting the bullet and giving it a go. I really appreciate it. It helps us reach a different audience, and there'll be people listening to this back at a later date, either on our YouTube channel or on the podcast. Essentially, what we're here to do is to raise awareness on this occasion of psoriatic disease. Share your experiences and your work. So, on that point, do you want to maybe tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get stuck into the sort of psoriasis element?
Okay. So I am a psoriasis ambassador, and if an ambassador at the IFPA, sorry, an IFPA ambassador also. And on top of all that, I am an advocate of a high court in Kenya. That's a lawyer in simple terms. And so that's what I do for a living. And I have had psoriasis for the past like 16 years now. I was diagnosed with psoriasis when I was just in my final year in high school. So that transition from high school to university, that is where I got diagnosed with psoriasis. So I've been living with psoriasis ever since. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I suppose what drew you to start share? I'm assuming you didn't talk about your psoriasis from the start.
Yeah.
So was there like an event that led to it, or did it feel like a natural thing? Is it because it helps you manage and cope with the situation, or what sort of got you into advocacy?
So what got me into advocacy is everything that you mentioned, actually. Um, I want to believe that I was among the very first people to start the Psoriasis Association of Kenya. And maybe, I'm not very sure, but amongst the first people who are diagnosed. Okay, I am not very sure, let me not say that, but I remember what got me to opening up and speaking about my experience is before I got diagnosed, I spent almost a year from hopping from hospital to hospital, hospital to hospital, being treated for fungal infections, being treated for other skin conditions that were not psoriasis. I was put on different medication, obviously, which weren't working or just working for a short period, and then my skin flares up again. So after I got the correct diagnosis and I started meeting other people with psoriasis, I decided that I'm going to make this my life mission to raise awareness, to tell other people about it, so that nobody else has to go through what I went through. Because from the time my skin started flaring up to the time I got a diagnosis, I underwent a lot of stigmatization also from, medics. I remember one particular event, I'd gone to this doctor who was also a dermatologist. And then when I got into the examination room, I used to wear a hijab. This, what Muslims wear, because my flare up was so bad and it's come all down to my face. So I had shaved off my hair. So my scalp was really bad. So I always walked with the hijab. So I remember when I went to the doctor's office, obviously I had to remove my hijab for her to see what was the problem with my skin. And immediately I did that. The doctor looked at me and told me to put it back on because she doesn't want me to infect her with what I have. And then go back home and infect her children with it. So from then on, I made it my life mission to raise awareness as much as I can so that anybody else doesn't have to go through what I went through. Yeah.
And that was a medical professional.
Yes, unfortunately.
And
Yeah.
it's something we've talked about already on today's sort of special show, is that how culturally around the world there are these different stigmas. Like you have the same common ones, contagious and things like that, but how it changes around the world. And like, what sort of other challenges do you face, like in the part of the world you are, with stigma around psoriasis? Obviously, contagious one you've mentioned there. Are there any other like cultural challenges with having a condition like psoriasis?
Yes, definitely, especially in our African society. And most people would look at you and say, what do we call it? This one is bewitched, like you're cast. Can I
Yeah,
say cast?
yeah, totally.
And yeah, people don't actually believe that this could be a skin condition. It's associated with curses and bad things in the community and things like that. So that's one of the things that we undergo here in the African society. Also, I don't know if I can still call this stigmatization, but I remember even during the first times when before I got diagnosed with psoriasis, um, I had very many people associate it with HIV. And many people would say that I was HIV positive, right? So those are some of the major challenges I've had to deal with living with psoriasis. Yes. Mm.
And I think that's why it's really important that we've got such a diverse group of people on here sharing this stuff. Because for me, when we met up recently, obviously at the IFPA forum and the ambassadors meeting, and that was like my one big takeaway, that shock. You know, there was two actually. One was how varied access to treatment was around the world. Different countries have different rules. But also them cultural elements that somebody from sort of the West, or you know, however you want to frame it, in the UK, just it just I don't know, it just is something I hadn't had any experience of, and I found it really shocking. So thank you for sharing it, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through those experiences, especially from trained medical professionals. Like, is dermatology like a priority? I don't expect if you to have facts and figures or anything, but like, is dermatology a priority where you are, or is it just seen as an area that isn't covered? Got a feeling we might have temporarily lost, I guess, 2 seconds. They're frozen on screen. We very much appreciate them doing this in a side room during their day. Right, bear with me. If I just pop back to screen, when they jump back on the call, we'll cut back. But yeah, that's why it's really important today, guys, that we have people from multiple backgrounds and different parts of the world to share them sort of things. Okay, right, I think we're back again. 2 seconds, guys. There we go.
I am so sorry
No,
about
it's
that.
fine. It's fine. I'm online all day. It's going to happen at some
Right,
point,
right.
and it might even
Okay.
be me one of these days. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry. So
Sorry.
so I've got to remember what I was saying. 2 seconds. Um, so yeah, it's really important that we have people from sort of diverse backgrounds and from people around the world on this event today to share those sort of cultural experiences. Do you feel like dermatology is like a priority where you are? I don't know if you know anything about how much training people get for it, or anything. Like, is there lots of specialists in this area, or is it, or do you think some of these issues are fueled because of lack of training and exposure?
I I am not very sure the number of dermatologists we have, but what I know is that every county in the country has a dermatologist, and we have quite a number. I think around maybe 20, but I am not sure. Again, I'm not sure the number of
Yeah, I
dermatologists that
don't.
we have. But but yes, that I think that might be a problem because for me, before I finally went to a dermatologist who knew what he was dealing with, my first point of contact was a GP. And most of these GPs uh, had no idea what psoriasis was back then. Hopefully now they do. But yeah, I think that's also one of the major problems we have, the very small number of dermatologists we have vis-a-vis the huge population in the country. Yeah.
And for anyone watching this live or listening back, the reason I mention that is going through some of the IFPA figures this week, preparing for this event. One of the stats
Yeah.
that jumped out at me was that it was out of 54 countries in Africa, 30 have no
Yes.
university training programs in dermatology, and
Wow.
that is a staggering statistic, isn't it? So
Yeah.
and it kind of, I suppose, explains why you might get those experiences where people, even in that community, might think it's contagious and these other stigmas. Um,
Yeah.
what's access to treatment been like for you? Because every country has its own issues, whether it's a cap or cost or whatever. Has that been particularly challenging?
Yes, definitely. Access to treatment has been very extremely challenging, especially in terms of costs, because some of these medications that we have that are actually very effective are so expensive, and you just use what you can afford, right? So no matter the side effects, uh, you just basically use what you can afford, mostly topical steroids. And what I have been on for a very long time is methotrexate, because it's one of the cheapest types of medications that we have for psoriasis. I remember when I got my first child, and then I could not take methotrexate because it's not safe when you're breastfeeding, and then I had to be put on a different drug, which was super expensive. I couldn't buy it after I think I used it for a month, and then I was like, no, this is too expensive for me. I can't continue. So I just had to stop breastfeeding my baby so that I could go back to methotrexate. So access to treatment is definitely a huge issue here, because I know a very small number of people are on biologics here in Kenya because it's super expensive. In fact, most of the people I've interacted with who have psoriasis here in Kenya, none of them has ever been on biologics because obviously very expensive. Yeah.
And also that's an area you touched upon there that probably isn't highlighted enough, the difference, the sort of treatment options between, sexes. Because if you are, I was on methotrexate for a lot of years, and I was told, don't conceive and everything, but it's a much longer issue if you're a mother because of breastfeeding and everything else. And
Yeah.
we don't really talk about that enough, and how it affects, and especially something like psoriasis. It is like a series, like a roller coaster, isn't it? You have your ups and your downs, and it doesn't take a lot to trigger it. I don't know. Have you recognised what your triggers are, or what some of those are, or what do you do to work with them?
Not yet, but
No,
what I know
okay.
is, but I know for sure that dairy products trigger like make my psoriasis flare up, because when we came back from Milan, my skin has been on a constant flare.
Is it?
Then
Yeah.
and thought about it, I remember we used to have a lot of pizza, and pizza has a
Yeah.
lot of cheese. So in my head, I'm like, maybe that's the cause of my flare right now. But honestly, right now, I haven't noticed. I don't know. I haven't identified any of my triggers, but I know stress triggers my psoriasis very very badly. At least that one I know. That one is a constant. I know that stress makes my psoriasis worse.
You're our second guest today, out of two, to say stress and dairy. And I must admit, I've never looked into dairy. I know I've got some really obvious triggers, and stress is a major one. Like, I know after today and all the build up for today, next week I'll have rashes. It just is going to happen. But I think it's really
Yeah.
refreshing to hear somebody that does all the amazingly good work that you do, and you advocate, and that sort of, there's people who are patients, and there's people that are patients and trying to help other people as well. It's really refreshing to hear somebody in that position say, you know what, I don't know all of my triggers, and I don't
Yeah.
fully understand it. So I'm sure somebody will take something from that, because it can sometimes look like we've got all the answers, and we really don't, do we?
Yeah, we don't. We actually don't. It's a learning experience. Every day is a learning experience.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and I think it's also important to mention, guys, for anyone listening back to this, or watching live, is it changes. There are things now that are triggers for me that weren't triggers for me years ago, and
Yeah.
I used to drink lots of beer, and now it's a massive trigger. But when I was younger, it wasn't. It never triggered my rashes. So it does change as well, guys. So don't beat yourself up too much about it. Um, Talking about your advocacy, we touched upon like what got you into it. Do you want to maybe talk about more specifics about what you do and if you've seen any like improvement in it? I think it's probably clear what motivates you, and with your day job, you're clearly a person that cares about social change and things like that. But do you want to maybe talk about more specifics about what you do, what you try to achieve, and if you've seen any traction in that so far?
So basically, what I do is raise awareness and advocate for the rights of people living with psoriasis and try push for policies, especially when it comes to things like access to treatment. And yes, I have seen a lot of changes. When we, sorry about the
No, it's
noises.
fine.
I have seen massive, huge changes. When we started this a while back, we would meet with other patients with psoriasis here, and most of them would cover up. Nobody wanted to wear sleeveless like shirts or like you'd see ladies would come into a skirt and in maybe stockings, just completely cover up. But I post my pictures on Instagram, on Facebook, anywhere that I can. I show my skin. Like I encourage people to show your skin, show your skin. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, we're just different, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with us. And so far, I have seen people, right, like today, most of the people who came are in sleeveless shirts because it's very hot outside. So most of the people who've come are in sleeveless shirts. Ladies are in shorts and skirts, and I'm so happy. And you can hear somebody just stand up and say, I I have been inspired. From the moment I started coming here, I would come all covered up, regardless of how the weather looked like. Like I would never show my skin, but right now I am encouraged to show my skin, to talk about it. I meet somebody on the street and somebody asks me, "What's wrong with your skin?" And I spend like maybe 2, 3 minutes explaining to them that this is psoriasis. It's not contagious. This is, this is how you can identify a psoriasis maybe. So that when you see somebody else with it, you don't stigmatize. Lead them to a dermatologist or lead them to the Psoriasis Association of Kenya or something like that. So yes, I have seen major changes. It's been a while since I had anybody that was told you have HIV because, of psoriasis. So we've definitely seen a lot of changes through the years. And the struggles that we had back then are definitely different from the struggles that people are having right now. So yes, there's been massive change. People know about psoriasis right now. Back then, I was very scared of going into hair salons because nobody wants to touch your scalp because that everybody thinks that when they come into contact with your scalp, then they will also catch whatever it is that you have. But right now, you'll go into a salon. There was a time where we had pamphlets that we would distribute all of our hair salons, and most of this people who work in salons know. Oh yeah, I know what this is. It's psoriasis. It's not contagious. This is my client. I have seen more people like this. Right now, I can go into a salon and the lady who does my hair be like, "Oh, I saw somebody who has the same condition on the scalp." So yes, we have had huge changes, and amazing development. So yeah, I'm happy and content about what we're doing and how far we've come.
That's
Yeah,
amazing, especially with the challenges that you've faced and encountered
yeah,
in sort of earlier years, to then have that confidence to have those conversations on the street. Because it's one thing having the confidence to show it off, it's then another thing being prepared for those questions. And let's be honest, we've all experienced it where even people might be well meaning, they can sometimes be insensitive or they can word it in a way that's a little bit offensive or whatever. So, yeah, hats off to you for doing that. Another thing you touched upon it there a little bit with like your hair and I think it's great that just like one person at a time you're gradually chipping away at that stigma so your hairdresser understands. But one of the things I've noticed as being a sort of a white male is that sometimes with our awareness work and projects and things, you don't see a lot of psoriasis rashes on people of color and different backgrounds and everything else. Like, do you think that's important as well to be showing that if you've got black hair, then psoriasis is going to be obviously a lot more visible than somebody like me that has no hair And do you think we need to maybe do more? I know there is a project going on at the minute by IFPA to flag, this psoriasis looks different on different skin. Yeah, is that something that's ever never crossed your path or something you've been aware of?
Yes. We've had this discussion several times. Actually, right now, before I came into this live, I was just having a discussion with my colleague that I was having a discussion with a dermatologist the other day, and they would say that even in their school books, they don't know how psoriasis looks like in black skin. So even when they're seeing psoriasis patients, what they know and what they learned in school and the description of psoriasis is on white skin. So it becomes a bit difficult even for them to identify that this is how psoriasis looks in black skin. So yes, I think IFPA is doing a good job, and I think it's a great initiative that we should have psoriasis demonstrated in different skin colors, so that somebody knows that this is how it looks on black people's skin, or this is how it looks on the scalp and black hair maybe. So yes, it's a great initiative, and I'm happy that the is it All the Colors We Are project
Yes,
is
yeah.
coming up. Well, actually, right now, right after our meeting, we have a photo session where we'll take photos of. Sorry, okay. We have sorry about that.
No,
We
you're
have
fine.
a photo session coming up where we're going to take photos of psoriasis manifestation on black skin color, maybe post it on the websites, on IFPA websites, and we can have them shared out there for people to understand maybe how it looks like on black skin is not the same way it looks on white skin. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I didn't realize the timing was so close. That worked well. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. If you're watching this live, and if you're listening to this back, then it probably is already out there. But I think it's a really important initiative to make the point, because a lot of like policy advocacy decision maker things kind of happens in Europe, but that then means you get a an unfair representation. I think it's also important. It's not just important for patients from a representation point of view to see that person looks like me. I think, like you touched upon there, it's the education point, isn't it? Just for the medical community, like if you've got primary healthcare, for a lot of years I went and my psoriasis was diagnosed as thrush, and I had all sorts of problems because I was given antifungal cream for something that was an inflammatory thing, and maybe with a bit more education, that person would know what that looked like. So yeah, I think it's a really good initiative. Um,
Yes, sorry, I had to switch places because people are now just starting to stream in. I was getting a
okay.
bit.
You got your Psoriasis Day T-shirt on as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have.
well done.
Yes,
We
yes.
got a good turnout today for people wearing their shirts. But thank you. I appreciate you're busy. I'm sorry if this hasn't been ideal for you on your Saturday. Like, you're already working
No
on a
problem.
Saturday for a start. You don't need me hassling you as well. So sorry, I think we were talking about your future plans and advocacy, and and talking a bit more about how the IFPA ambassador program. While you were gone, I was talking about how it sort of empowered me to do more, and that they're investing in us rather than just using us for a project and that's it. They're kind of developing us, aren't they, to be more better advocates. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that to get your rhythm again.
Yes. I was saying the IFPA ambassador program has been a real eye opener. It's been amazing. Like I have learned so many things. I'm definitely not the same person I was before I joined the program, and it's amazing seeing the initiatives out here. What people are doing. First of all, you're doing an amazing job, Joel. I have to
Thank you.
congratulate you for that. Right? People are doing amazing things out here, and I'm definitely challenged. And we have a project coming up. Like we want to start the project maybe in January, beginning January, or maybe later in the year. And it's what we call a prevalence study. The data we have in Kenya is a bit outdated. The last time I think that data was collected is 1989, I think. So it's a bit outdated. So what we want to do right now is collect data, get the correct number, get the correct figure of people living with psoriasis, and maybe after that, after we know that we're dealing maybe with 2% of the population or 3% of the population, then we know what to do next. Maybe even if it's approaching government or policy makers, at least we have a voice. We tell them that we have this and this number of people and this is what we want. We are a considerable amount of people. We're not just those people living with psoriasis, that you're a very small number. No, after we have the data and we have something concrete, we can tell them that we are what, maybe 2% of the population or 5% of the population, and this is what we want. This is what we want government to do for us. This is what we want. Maybe we want subsidy in the type of treatment that we get. We want government to give us subsidized medication. Maybe even with the data, we can approach pharmaceutical companies, work together in maybe providing medical care to people who cannot afford, and things like that. But so the project that we have coming up is a prevalence study that we are obviously doing with the Psoriasis Association of Kenya, which is a big thing for us. I hope that we can have it as soon as possible, and then that can be the basis of everything else that we're going to do after that. Yes.
Amazing. Like, as if you weren't doing enough already. I'm super excited. I think like what's amazing is like you not only got these sort of global advocates representing their countries with all them different perspectives and challenges and everything, but we've already talked about it on the show today, but that coming together of something like we did in Milan and we'll hopefully do again next year, and that, I don't know about you, it proper energized me. It just fueled me like, right, I can do more. I need to have more confidence in myself. And I think what's also great is that we're all using our skills in different ways. So we had Chiara on earlier, who's obviously really good on social media. Um, I do the whole video thing like we're doing today. You're doing using your sort of law background as well. And yeah, I just think it's really special how you can lift each other up in that space, and unlike maybe an Instagram or whatever, it doesn't need to be competitive, and
Yeah.
it's only going to go on to bigger and better things.
Yes, it's amazing. Actually, Chiara was helping me the other day do a reel. I've never
Yeah.
done one before. I
Well,
am
you went
not
to the right
very good
person.
about these social media things. So like I kept texting her, Chiara, how do I do this? How do I input words on the reel? And it was amazing. Like she's doing an amazing job. She's a great person. Like it gave me psych also, the meeting different ambassadors from different countries and hearing all these great and mega things they're doing in their countries. It was definitely a good thing. And I'm happy that it happened and at the right time. Yes.
Yeah. And also, and one of the things that made me think of coming away from there is like, why, like, on this channel, I want to get it as diverse and broad as possible, because it made me realize that maybe some of the issues I'm dealing with back home that are frustrating to me compile in comparison to somebody. There was somebody from another part of Africa who was talking about how limited biologics were, and like it was single figure people could get access to them each year, which just blew my mind. And I think that's why, if we keep creating these communities like we're doing here and like we're doing with IFPA Ambassador and you're doing back home, where we can sort of pull, right, what are the pain points, what are the problems, to then prioritize where we aim our voice, I think it can only be a good thing. I'm proper.
Yeah.
It's been a long while since I've been as excited as I am about what we're doing as a group of advocates. I genuinely mean that, and yeah, I think. Well, we'll see. We'll sit here next year and see what amazing things, when everyone comes back, has achieved in the year that's passed.
Yeah.
So I suppose another quick question, because we haven't really touched on it yet today. How,
Okay.
and it might not apply to you, but just so I've asked it, it's like with psoriasis, it's a visible disease. We talked about things like people think it's contagious and going for something as simple as a haircut and how that can be a challenge. And how was your living with psoriasis sort of impacted from a mental health point of view, and sort of like maybe those other conditions, domino effect, if you like, that people don't always consider when they just look at the rashes on your skin?
Okay. So psoriasis definitely affects our mental health in one way or the other, because you find that sometimes you have flares everywhere, and maybe you have an event that you have to attend and you have to dress in a certain way and you cannot do that anymore. And you get there, everybody's looking at you and wondering, what is wrong with this one? Didn't she know that we were supposed to dress in this and that way? And then people obviously do not understand. And some people actually don't think that it's as serious as it is for us, actually. And sometimes, like you said, somebody can say something and probably not with intentions to hurt or anything, but not knowing that whatever they say affects somebody, different people differently, right? And you find that when some of these things happen, when you have flares in maybe say your face or your legs, and you can dress a certain way, then your self-esteem goes down. Sometimes you don't even want to leave the house, and then you're stressed, you have anxiety, like you have anxiety thinking about maybe an event coming up and you have a flare. All these things start playing out, and then definitely affecting your mental health at the end of the day. Yes, so for me, psoriasis definitely has a link, is interconnected with mental health. Yeah.
Is that link recognised like widely in your country? Because I know it's a different experience everywhere. Like in the UK, we've been on a big push recently around mental health and especially like men's well-being after COVID, and trying to encourage people like my age and gender to talk more. Is the link recognised there, or is there more work to be done?
Uh, yes, I could say yes. Right now, there's a lot of work going into mental health and mental health advocacy. Recently, in July of 2022, we had our Mental Health Act amended
Oh, brilliant!
to yes, and it highlights very many things that were not there in the previous act. Sorry for getting legal, but that is what I do. So we have had people pushing for mental health awareness. We have this beautiful Mental Health Act amendment that just came into play that recognizes that there is rights for people with mental health issues, and that puts on the forefront mental health care. Like in the previous act, it did not recognize that there was supposed to be mental health care, but in this act, it's being emphasized. There's clear roles demarcated between the national government and the county governments, and it's definitely working. The county CECs, county executive officials in the country, the health CECs have been tasked in pushing the mental health agenda, pushing the Mental Health Act. So there's definitely a lot of work going out there in raising mental health awareness. So I can say that we are not where we want to be, but we're definitely going in the right direction. And like you said, even here we have movements and people out there encouraging men to speak up, talk about their issues, yeah, because we've seen that there's a very high population of men committing suicide because they can't talk about their issues, they can't say what's going on with them, because we've been taught from an early age that, you know, as a man you have to bottle up your issues, you cannot talk to anyone, you cannot cry. But right now we have people pushing and saying, you know what, men, talk about your issues, talk to somebody else, talk to another man, just talk, just don't bottle up your issues. So we have a lot of mental health awareness going out there. We have comedians and talk shows, people talking about mental health. So there's definitely a lot of sensitization right now around mental health, and people are doing a great job. So I can say that it's a topic that is widely being discussed right now, and we're heading towards the right direction, yes, in terms of mental health. Yeah.
That's amazing news, and I think it's another example of why we need to have these conversations, because it's easy to focus on the shock and stuff. If I didn't realise somebody in this country couldn't get access to X, Y, and Z, but it's the what you can learn, the good practice things as well that you maybe wouldn't have been exposed to if you don't share what's going on in other parts of the world. So that's fantastic to hear, because as somebody that's sort of like quite passionate about the mental health side of things and the impact our diseases have on our mental health. Yeah, you don't very often get good news stories on that subject. So it's really, yeah, it's really nice. Just thank you for sharing. Um,
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time. Is there obviously I'll give you opportunity as well to let people know where they can find you. But if you I suppose if you had and I'm putting you on the spot here of a bit of a sort of radio style question, if you sort of had sort of one thing to say to somebody with psoriasis, either they're newly diagnosed or they might be struggling because they're not got a support network or haven't found things like what we're doing here today. and might just happen to see this clip in the future. Is there sort of one bit of advice you would give them, or any sort of words of support you could offer?
Oh, the thing I constantly keep saying for people who recently diagnosed with psoriasis is it gets better. It definitely gets better. And there is hope. Like, I am not the same person I was when I got my diagnosis. I was afraid. I couldn't wear certain dresses. I was always covered up. But with time, when you accept that psoriasis is there, it's a chronic illness, it's there to stay, and you accept that this is part of me now, it gets better. It definitely gets better. You get into a community of people living with psoriasis, talk it out, share experiences, and all that, it definitely gets better. What I'd like to tell that maybe young girl who's just been diagnosed with psoriasis or young man is that it's not the end of life. It's just actually the beginning. Things definitely get better. Definitely get better. So yeah, at the end of the day, there is hope. I don't know if you can see the t-shirt. It has the Psoriasis Association logo.
Ah, yes,
So
we can see it now. Yeah, thank you. There is hope.
yes,
Yeah.
hope. Yes, there is hope. So yeah,
That's true.
there's hope.
And also, like, you're going to have flares and there's going to be bumps in the road and everything. But it's really important for people with something like psoriasis is that when you get diagnosed, you're probably going to be at your worst, like, because of the length of time it gets to diagnosis or finding a treatment that works for you, etc., etc. You know, as you accumulate trial and error and knowledge and support networks and whatever form, like, sometimes people think they've got to go out and do like to the level at what we're doing. It can literally be just finding somebody close to you that you know and trust and can offload a little bit. You don't have to go trying to change the world or do what you can, what your time allows, but what works for you. For me, it's constantly talking about it. That's kind of like that's how I cope with my situation. For other people, it might be just a friend that you meet down the local pub or bar every Friday. So yeah, whatever works for you. But it is really important point that Wangui raises there that diagnosis, you are probably going to be at your worst point because you haven't found out that combination, waited all that time for diagnosis. So yeah, definitely amazing words. Where can people find you, Wangui, either online or your work, social media, that sort of thing? And for anyone listening, by the way, as usual, if you listen to this back on the podcast, the links to where you can find Wangui will be in the show notes. Where can people find you? Think we might have lost Wangui again. That's right. At least that was an easy bit for me to edit in. I'll be able to clip that. Bear with us, guys, while we just bring them back. I say we're a global event today, so this is going to happen. We've got people joining us from Africa, Asia, um, Sub-Sahara, yeah, all over. So yeah, we're going to have connection issues. I could already even see that I've dropped a couple of frames today, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility that I have something blow up. So yeah, sit very still. So give us a second. We'll drop back in, and then they can tell you where to find them. But I already know. I think it's Psoriasis Reflections, but I'll get them to give us the official links. But I hope that's useful, guys. I'm sure it is. Like the points they raise is amazing. So I'm sure it's going to help someone. And what I'm going to try and do with all of these videos today, stuff that Chiara said, stuff that Wangui said, I'm going to try and slice them up into little shareable short videos. So the interruptions won't matter. Welcome back. Let me
Are
just
you?
bring you back on screen. No, you ain't got to apologise. It happens. Um, Thankfully, it happened at a really easy place for me to edit. So I'll just start that again.
Great.
So, Wangui, where can people find you either on social media or the work that you do if they want to follow and get in touch?
So on social media, on Instagram, I am at Psoriasis Reflections. On Facebook, I am Wangui Gathere. Where else? On Twitter, Wangui Gathere. Yeah, those are my social media handles, so you can follow me there to see most of the content I create and raising awareness about psoriasis. Follow me. Yes, that's how you can find me.
Yeah, and please do because yeah, as you've already heard today, some amazing words of support and advice, and just keep doing what you're doing. It's absolutely inspirational stuff, and I love how everyone we got on today on this special show for World Psoriasis Day. Everyone's doing stuff in their own way, using their own skill set for what matters to them wherever they are in the world. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing because you've got an incredible skill set, and I'm sure you're going to make a big difference to people out there.
Right.